Oh, there we go. It's Friday. Let's see if we can figure anything out today. I've not been in the right mind all week. I've just been tired. Yesterday I was completely knocked out. But it's getting better. Where were we? Yeah, we're doing a bunch of things here. Light mode does not exist. Where's this? Set position. I think this should be removed. This was made to kind of optimize the light so that we only removed like this and that. But I think it's not worth it. That. think. What is this? Set object mode. Yeah, that shouldn't matter. Initialize light source should just be update light partitioning. I think these two, the shadow and the light, are the only ones that are affected by it being dynamic or not. How do you make hot brew method? Boil water. I'm just reading how to make iced tea. I don't really have anything to put it in. I don't have like any big bottles, really. Let's see. It's just object mode. Remove light source. What is this? This is destroy. That does deactivate, which removes it. And all of these need to run update. Do they? This one shouldn't need to. Update room allocation. One should probably. This one is updating shadow partitioning. This one is not. Look at light again. Yeah. That. This dynamic shadow area buffer. Thinking about buying some coffee beans. We'll see. Uh, what is this? Object data static. Not so sure. Object data module. Static object. Light source. That's a boolean. What is the issue here? There's no argument that corresponds to vision type. What's missing? Right. We need to add an object mode here. RIA. And they're pretty much all gonna be that. Light source type. This should just be false. So unfortunately we have to go through and do all of this here. Just happened. I tabbed and it like I changed it to false, and then it changed to the next one. It's just gonna help me go through all of them? That's actually really crazy. I'm just gonna set them all to false for the time being. Oh my god! How did you fail? It's the last one. That's why. Water prison is dynamic. Actually. Where barrier is also dynamic. Guardian is dynamic. Gravity Blast is actually static. Earth's gaze is static. Now, Cyrus gaze is a light source. But we'll deal with that later. No, don't. No, it's doing annoying things instead. See, that's the thing. When you have mechanics like that, in the IDE that like let you auto do things, and it's trying to like automate making things easier to do. There's nothing wrong with that, But if it doesn't work, then it's worse than not having the mechanic or the function in the first place. What is this? Placeholder. Okay, sure. A placeholder can be dynamic. Background. This is static. Is collider true? Is it really though? Is that shadow collider? The sun is light source. True. The sun is dynamic. Actually, I don't know. Maybe the sun should be static. No, I don't know. I think it should be dynamic. It's just that it depends, right? I think the sun could be changed. Like, it could be set to be dynamic when it needs to move, and then set to be static when it's not moving, to optimize it. It's a commander. Oh yeah. I'm very scared about these and having to do things here. Water prison. It's not a light source. Hold on. a second. I'm just checking something here. Let's see. Hmm. I don't think there are really any good solutions for Fixing shadow casting later, which is a little sad. What is this room? Here we're running update on rooms, which is fine. Why is this wrong? Tile.value.tiledata. Cannot convert to uint. Preview tiles to right. Ah, okay. That returns a baked tile. This returns a uint. The baked tile is supposed to consist of tile data and detailed data. I think that's actually correct. So preview tiles to right here. This should be tile data to right. I think. Check wall slice. This one, I don't know. I don't know how to solve this. This is gonna be the next challenge, unfortunately. How do we handle that? And see, the issue here is that this is part of the automation that I've removed now. So Ideally, we should have an auto-tiling function. And that's how I think it should work. There should be an auto-tiling function, and the auto-tile should connect tiles that belong to the same building. But I don't want to write the auto-tiler yet. I want to get the combat prototype to work before I write an auto-tiler. That's what I'm a little bit unsure about how to handle. I actually think we need to actually check this. Or I feel like we need to run this. And we need to actually write an auto-tiler, no matter what, for this. And then we can just implement that later on for the tile itself. By just adding like a little bit of extra to it. But right now, I really don't want to do that. My mom is writing something about which coffee beans to order. Let's see which ones. No, she stopped. Never mind. Alright, let's just leave this error for later. This is open level, which is a little bit annoying and sad. We actually have to redesign the load system here a bit. Because we don't load rooms as vertices anymore. They're going to be quads. So really these are fine. Now this one, add. Okay, no, this should be a baked tile. Never mind. Not tile data, right? This is a baked tile. Okay. What else do we have here? Tile to bake here. Yeah, so this needs to be a baked tile. Which then takes a tile data and a detail data. So we can do this, and then this is tile to bake. But it needs to be something like this. If detail layer. Is there no layer thing here? Let's see. Not in this tool. Let's say if level editor dot layer to paint equals 0. If layer to paint is 0, then we'll set tile to bake, the be that. Else, we're gonna set. Actually, we need that. We need uint, tile to bake, and detail to bake. And then here, detail to bake equals world controller dot tile matrix dot x x2 and then this is y2 pointer 8. But then you need to do like this. Crema Classica. Fuck is Crema Classica? Crema Classica. This is going to be the same, except this is 16, and this is tile sheet 2. And then we want to do the same thing here. Except this should be like this. And this should be like this. And this should be this one. Whole beans. Coffee beans. And then this should be baked tile. I wonder if they sell coffee grinders on the website. Doesn't look like it. Maybe? I'm not sure. Like, we got cups and shit. Påsklämma. How many? How many påsklämma is in one? 2. 2 påsklämma for 25 kronor. I have a bunch of plastic ones. I think they're good enough. But they don't seem to have any grinders. Coffee machines. I don't really want a coffee machine. Could be cute, but like even a drip coffee one is like $80. Yeah. All right. Editor save open file reader. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out how to do this again. I don't really remember. I also don't really remember where I have it. The flat buffers are somewhere. Flat buffers are a bit of a pain in the ass, but they're really good. But they're really tricky. Because it's like a way of compressing the data. So it makes it hard to change the data structure. Because it means that if you need to patch any of this in a patch or something, then you're gonna need to implement a function that like converts it from that version to another version, and then you need to like always include that function in case someone is on like the wrong version and they're trying to patch. So that becomes a bit of a pain in the ass. But ideally, it shouldn't need to change ever for the game, as long as you just get it right early. But, you know, that is assuming you get it right early, right? Create building data. Yeah, see, this is what the flat buffers look like, and I need to remake these to work with the new way we're doing things. So I wanna try leaving these errors until later, if we can. Here, these errors are also right. Here we're now checking what is this kill. We're setting soft collider to be false, which isn't what we want to do. Instead, we want to set this to be okay, it doesn't have a boolean for it. Let's just make one then. Wait, object combat module. Oh, this is in the combat module. So let's say base object dot collider. Yeah, it doesn't have anything either. Okay. Public bool is collider. equals false. And then we go to initialize. And then here we're gonna say is collider equals data module dot value dot is collider. And then we both go here, and then here we say base object dot is collider equals false. We still need to decide exactly how, like, what should happen when a character is downed. And I'm not so sure I am. If I want the characters to just go, like, die immediately when they go to 0 health. I feel like there should be, like, a buffer where you go down and then you can be, like, saved or something like that. But I think that could be a very good mechanic, but it could also be a really bad mechanic, depending on the execution, because I don't like one-shots, but, like, I really don't like one-shots at all. You can do them, but it needs to be, like, a very rare and, like, very special. Otherwise, I think they're awful. But if you have a system where, like, a character gets downed instead of getting killed, so that you can, like, heal them and get them up again, then I think that could be good. Now, the game isn't meant to have healing, but I still think it should, like, it doesn't have traditional healing, but I still think it should have healing to some degree. It just needs to be in a different form. But the issue that I'm worried about is, like, okay, what if a character is downed, so they're, like, on their knees, and you go and help them up, and that gives them, like, some health back. Is that just gonna... turn into, like, some cheese mechanic where you're just, like, resting a character over and over, and the boss is just, like, killing it or downing it, and then you just down rest, kind of like that. Not sure. It is hard to design a game without healing. It's actually incredibly difficult, but we'll see how it works out. That's why I want the game to revolve a lot around blood loss. So, like, almost every hit you take should cause you to take, like, bleeding damage, which is damage that is staggered, kinda. So that if you take a hit, you take, like, a flat amount of damage, but you also gain, like, a certain amount of bleeding, and then the bleeding can be staunched. That way, you don't have traditional healing, but rather you have, like, you can recover that part of your health, but your max HP will always go down. whenever you take damage, because you're taking direct hits. That's more or less the idea. Okay, so here, if soft collider, now this is gonna make this a lot heavier. So what do we need to do here? This is like world controller. World dot check object point collision tile position, and this checks the entire object list, which is wrong, right? This should yeah. Felt like I wrote this, but maybe I didn't. Is there something in LOTF? Check. Like, we have the check boundary collision. But that's not it. We have the point in quad collection. Bounds in quad collection. So what do we need to do here? We need hash set int objects in point in area. Then we need to say world.partitioner.fetch ID set object tile position. And then we're going to set that to be objects in area equals this. And then has collided equals false. Has collided equals false. And then here we're gonna say for each objects in for each object in objects in area, we then have to do a LOTF dot point in AABBCC tile dot key object dot actually this is object ID, so here we need world dot no main controller, fuck you, main controller dot object master list object ID dot tile position outer bounds. And then we say if then we say has collided equals true. This can be a little bit different from how it is here now, actually. We can just fetch the targets here. Targeted objects. Maybe we can remove a bunch of this stuff here. So here, it's just that the way this was done before is that we cull this a little bit by checking the tile if it is a soft collider. And before, the soft collider meant that it contained an object. And then, so then if the soft collider was false, that meant we didn't have to do an object check at all. But I've removed the soft collider. So now what we're gonna do is we're simply going to check all of the objects in the area, which is gonna be like 1 or 2 or 3 objects usually. It can be like up to maybe like 8 objects or 10 or something, but even that's but like it's trivial. And then I went through the object list. If it contained a soft collider, then we went through the combat objects. Oh, here it's specifically combat objects, by the way. Okay, maybe we need to make another collection for that in this instead of just objects. So, but yeah, it goes through all of the objects, and then it tries to find if that object is standing within the tile. And then if it is, then if it only exists once, or if that key only exists once, then we add 1 to the value, or we set the value of that entity to 1, meaning it takes 1 hit. And then if it already exists, then we add a hit. I want to change this to, instead of object, it should just be an int, an ID check. I think. Yeah. I'll be right back. Oof. What if we try to just turn on a bunch of lamps? That helps focusing. Maybe that makes it worse. Who knows? didn't help. All right. It's just that here we can remove a lot of this here. And we don't need to check for has collided here. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to find objects. And the partition type here needs to have a combat object entry, which means that set partition to iterate. Here we have object matrix, but we also need a combat object matrix. This is then a combat object matrix, and then that's done, I think. Then we go back here. This is now combat object. And then here, all we have to say is for each, if it's true, then we will also continue. No, we will break. This is break. And we'll say here, targeted objects should not be a list. Targeted objects should be LOT target. I'm just thinking this should be a dictionary or something. Like, I don't know. Like, for what reason is this needed? The fact that it contains both of these? I think it's just to make it easier to pass along. I just think that this should be an int. That's all. But that might create tons and tons of errors. And this should be a dictionary, which takes an int and maybe a target. And the reason for that is so that here we can check this, right? And then we can just say if targeted objects dot contains key object ID and we'll do this. Targeted objects object ID dot target dot hits plus equals 1. That's how. Then this can be commented out. So what is this? This is line collision. It should be the same, I think. It's not quite the same, but it is the same-ish. Max distance. Blast AoE. Okay, yeah, it does both. Where were we? This was the solution. I just want to split it so we can look at it. Target has been found. Abort line cast. Target has been found. If is collider, abort line cast. If target has been found. If soft collider. No, we can't do that. So instead it needs to be... We need this. Objects in area. Needs to exist there. Then here we say... Maybe like this. It's a good idea. Clear it every update. We should probably do that here too. It doesn't really matter, I think, but just do it to be safe. Because this here, when we're fetching the ID set here, that does the... It sets new here, right? Which means that we don't need to call clear, and we don't need to set this here either. So I think it's probably best not to do it. Same thing here. This shouldn't be new. And as we're iterating through the line here, we're checking for colliders, and then we're checking soft collider. Now, this is going to be a little bit heavier now, because here we have to do this, right? Objects in area, and this is now local position. New vector 3int local position X, local position Y, map position Z. And then here, get object in tile. If action type is line target or target, Can we focus? Shouldn't have had coffee, I guess. Basically, we're checking for colliders here. Then here we fetch the objects in the area. Then we check for a soft collider. And then we do get object in tile, which gives us a raycast target. Get object in tile, iterates through the objects and returns us with an object. So I feel like raycast target isn't really doing anything here at all. In fact, is it not doing anything at all? Yeah, it's actually not doing anything at all. Isn't that weird? Check line collision. Find targeting range. Find targeting area. Where is this called from? Target tool. TF result returns. Yeah, it just returns the tiles, and then we fetch the objects from the tiles. Okay, so we just want to fetch tiles. Where the fuck am I? Here. This is so weird. So this doesn't need to exist. First unit found. First target found. At least I don't think so, right? Like, raycast target. That's set here, so it's completely irrelevant. Right? Yeah. Like, I understand exactly what I need to do, it's just... If the point is inside of that... Is there an else here? There's the else if there. This is just meaningless, right? Because this can only happen... Like, this is the exact same. Local position, map position, soft collider. Yeah. So this is completely meaningless. Target bounds. I just feel like this could be so much simpler. So here then we say something like it's LOTF dot check collection check contains target. Point in quad collection. I feel like I want to write, because here, right, we're doing wait, hold on. This should be a for each. Right? For each. Object ID in objects in area. Then we're gonna say and let's also set this to int. I don't like when it's a var. Then it's it should be like this. And then here if point in AABBCC and the point is this. And then here it's main controller dot object master list object ID dot tile position dot outer bounds. And if that's true, then this is a little bit weird here. Because here we have target bounds. But I feel like we shouldn't have target bounds here. Maybe we should. Hit position, map position. But what about the local position? I guess. Maybe this works? So there's a break here, right? And it says target found. Fuck. This is really confusing. Something like that. If blocked by obstacle, soft collider, code to check for obstacle. Blocked by self. Code to check for obstacle. So this is gonna have to be something like I don't know. If first unit found and target found. If is soft collider. I remember this shit was so complicated. which I was probably overcomplicating it when we were making it. I was too insistent on like passing positions and stuff along instead of just doing checks. Just be like, yeah, okay, we're checking this tile, let's go through the objects and check those. But it was also partially because I didn't have the partitioning done then. So checking every object was actually like a really bad idea. But now it's completely fine. Now here, I just feel like it's a question of... The only thing that's really stopping me here is an obstacle. Should that be a combat object? I feel like it should be. In which case, we'll simply have to fetch it like this. Objects in area is assigned out here outside of the loop. So all we have to do is just fetch it here then. But we don't have a point here, but this should be just map position in this particular instance. So then all we have to do is just if for each int obj id in objects in area then we do if lotf dot point in AABBCC map position object main controller dot object master list obj id dot tile position dot outer bounds. So if that is true, then here we just say code to check for obstacle. Yeah. If first unit found is soft collider, code to check if collider is a unit. Is this just super unfinished? We should definitely not call this multiple times. Which is why I kind of feel like this here, this should be done here. Just instantly. Max distance. Map position. How's the map position iterated here? Oh, it's iterated here. Right. This could be simplified so much, I feel like. Whatever. Let's just see if we can make it make sense. Raining. Let's get some water. Oh, it's been 2 hours. It's been over 2 hours. I was gonna go get water. Maybe some cheese. Hello, Grug. How's it going? Just got some water. Programming's a little slow this week. It's going alright, though. I've just been a little tired as I'm fixing my diet. It's been a little extra spaced. We're making progress. I'm reworking a bunch of things, which unfortunately takes way more time than I would like it to. Because I was making like real progress before, and then like we were implementing like targeting and new spells and all kinds of things, like pushing units around and shit, and that felt good. But then I realized that like in order to implement the combat scene, like when they're actually fighting, I had to change some things, and those things were like infinite things that need to change, because it's like just very basic, like fundamental things of the engine that needed to change, and then that cascades into everything else needing, like, being affected by that, which is unfortunate. So as I'm going through that, I'm also just changing things that are like really old that I run into, that I realized like, okay, yeah, this should probably be different now. So it's turning out to be a much larger undertaking than I was hoping. But it is moving forward. And now it's been we're at the 2-hour mark where I lose focus completely. So I'm just taking a little break, having some cheese with a bit of Tabasco on it. I don't really like the Tabasco on the cheese, but I always forget to buy. There's another paste called sambal oelik, however you pronounce that, which is pretty good. I like just putting that on a piece of cheese and just eating it, but I never remember to buy it. The Tabasco is a little too spicy for just putting it on stuff. It hurts the mouth. It needs to go into the cooking. I was also looking at buying some coffee. Some coffee beans. And I don't know, like this is strength, right? I don't know really how big the difference is. Because I don't feel like the difference is that big between the holy shit. Oh, that was a lot of spice. Oh, ooh. So I was thinking of just buying a bit, like one of each. Because I feel like this, like the strongest one, might be the best for drinking with milk. Oh, maybe. But I also need to buy a hand grinder, which is a little annoying. Welcome back, Rod. You missed it all. Missed all of it, Rug. Oi. I wonder if this is gonna be a short programming day too. Drug drink Jacobs. Jacobs coffee. Oh. Jacobs Monarch. Sounds fancy. Krönung? What the? Yeah, I just saw the Krönung. What language is that? German. Coronation. Strange name. Yeah, it's not Swedish. If it was Swedish, it would be you see, it's called Krönung here. German. If it was Swedish, it would be Konung. Eller Kröning, maybe. Yeah. Krönung, that's definitely. Kröning. There. That's the difference. It's the one letter there. Do they have that here? Jacobs. Krönung. They do have. It's super fucking expensive though. It's like it's almost twice as expensive. I think we won't buy that. It's just coffee, right? It's just coffee beans. I don't think that there's gonna be any difference between an expensive coffee bean and a normal coffee bean. And we definitely have it. It's just I'm ordering, or honestly, like imported stuff isn't always that common in Sweden. Because Sweden is such a small country, the actual, like, I guess, inventory of most online stores, it tends to be kind of limited. But they do have the Krönen here. But I'm partially buying the beans because they're cheaper than the pre-ground coffee by a lot. At least the ones that are actually cheaper. And the ones that are like lightly roasted, it sounds so good because they're called like blonde or cream or whatever. And lies? Grog saw plenty of kebab cave. Yeah, we have plenty of kebab imports. We know this. This is known. Gevalia. Krikor pizzeria. Krikor. That's definitely not Swedish. Yeah, like in my entire life, across multiple cities, I've been to one pizzeria that was owned by Swedish people. It's kind of interesting. Holy shit, this is so expensive! 120 crowns for a fucking pizza? I like that the first pizza on the list is a banana pizza. Second one, banana and pineapple and curry. That's so based. Vesuvio, that one, that's just a normal fucking ham pizza. It's like, it's not bad, but it's super boring too. But it isn't bad. Like, I enjoy it when I eat it, but I would never buy it. I'd always go for like a salami pizza or something at least. This is what I would buy normally, I think. Caruso. Ground beef and garlic. Rotisserie pork shavings in kebab. Yeah, I don't think they have pork shavings. That ham? I'm not sure what you're talking about. We call that kebab here. Honestly, like, the kebab meat is kebab. They have a kebab. So it's just called a kebab. Yeah, here, kebab pizza. Kebab meat. Kebab. Kebab pizza Hawaii. Kebab pizza special. Fries. Kebab meat. Kebab sauce. Pepperoni. I like that it's called that. That's just jalapenos, by the way. I think. No, it's banana peppers. That's what it's banana peppers. That's a pepperoni. They used to be called the pepperonis, but they stopped calling them that because there's, you know, pepperoni sausages. And we're actually using that now, so now it's called the pepperoni. But yeah. Can we try to solve this? At the very least. I think this is a bad programming week for me. So maybe I just solve something here and then I go do and try to finish up the writing that I need to do. Because I feel like we're only gonna make small amounts of programming progress even if I hammer it. What is the difference here? If first unit found and target found. Right. This should have some more function, I think. Yeah, this is a little messed up. I can definitely feel the bugs here. I feel like maybe the easiest way to do line collision is to first just make a run that only checks hard collision. So we only check walls and shit. And after we've done that, then we just generate, like we just get all the tiles that we've found, and then we just go through them and we just find the closest target that we are targeting in all of those tiles. I feel like that would be the absolute easiest way to do line targeting. So that's not that easy either, because you need to abort the line casting. Could go for a pizza right now, but we're not doing that. I'm gonna write this down here. Line targeting could be vastly simplified, I think. Might need some more work after changes to objects at partitioning slash hash sets. But yes. If abort line cast. But it wasn't set to that here. I just feel like... Shouldn't it be set to true here? If collider, abort line cast. But here it's just target found. I is set to max distance. So what this really does is that we're just canceling. I just don't see how abort line cast shouldn't be true here. I don't know. I feel like the line targeting feels like a mess. We'll get back to that later. Let's just fix this error down here. Now the only thing really here is... Here we're fetching objects in area. You see, the reason why this is weird is because if I fetch the objects in area here, then that's not really like... This fetch ID should fetch an area. I think. Like an area bound. So it should be vector 6int map bounds, or map position bounds equals new vector 6int map position, and the size, there should be a size here, right? Line size. Line size. And as such, this should fetch the map bounds. That way, we'll fetch the entire... all the objects in the entire area, which is slightly inefficient, but I think that's still fine. It means fetching things less. And in that case, then we don't need to do this. We can just use that. And then we don't need... well, maybe we do need the point there. And then down here, where we iterate the map position, we actually need to update the map position bounds dot set map position line size. And maybe up here too, because here we are just iterating this here. So this is then map position bounds dot set map position line size. That way we fetch the area for every step we take here. And then here, where the error is right now, if first unit found and target is not found, code to check if collider is a unit. There's no way this shouldn't be commented out. Right? Because that's this. And here we have is collider. Blocked by obstacle. Blocked by self. I feel like all of these are wrong. This is wrong. Blocked by obstacle. Cat. Move obstacle check up to local iteration. Maybe everything should be in there. Question mark? Yeah, okay, so there's no error here now, but I don't think it's, like, actually right. Is valid. Is soft collider. What are we doing here? Collision bounds. voltage is too hard. Why am I doing it this way? This just needs to check this. Right? And if that's true, then break. Oh, that's why. But it doesn't even need to break. It can just return false right away, right? Right? We're checking is valid here. And if it's a collider, that's it. Return false. And then here, what we need to do is hash set int obj in area or objects in area world dot partitioner dot fetch id set collision partition type combat object collision bounds. Right? And then we'll just say if point if lotf dot point in AABBCC new vector 3 int It needs a for each. And then this is main controller. Object ID dot outer bounds. No, it's not collision bounds we're checking. Collection size. See, it is valid. We're just checking a position. Is that it? Collision bounds. Source object. That's the outer bounds of the object. So we're just checking the position. That's it, I think. No, okay. That's why it's position plus this. So, yeah, all this should be made easier by just passing an ID along. Like I said, it was gonna be tough if I kept working. But, holy shit. I feel like this could be made easier too. Because we have a... Because we have a boundary we're checking, right? That means we don't actually have to check every tile. Like here, we're checking every tile because we're checking against tile colliders. So there it makes sense. However, when we're checking objects against objects, you don't need to do that. You can just check the boundary versus the boundary. And that would be a lot better. Which means that I feel like we should move this out. Right? So here then we have collision bounds. And then here if collider return false. That simple. And then here it should just be if that, then for each object in object area. And the object area should not be collision bounds, but it should be new vector 6 int position and collision bounds dot max vec 3. No, size. That way we have all of the objects in that area. And this is where I wish we had an like a way to basically a way to check if it's ourselves. Because that's one of the issues here. Make is valid take an int ID so we can check if it is finding itself. The question is, if I do that, would that break it somewhere else? I don't think so. Like if we do int source object ID, that's gonna break is valid here. And then up here, we have pf data, which contains source object. Like, I feel like this can be so much easier or so much simpler, but the reality is that it is actually kind of complicated. Source object. We are always using a source object, so we are always assuming that a source object exists. In which case, we can just always add source object. Wait, huh? Oh, it's in PF data. PF data source object dot ID. We just do that. That should then solve that entirely. And then here, as we're checking this, we'll then just say if object ID equals source object ID, then we continue. Otherwise, we check bounds, check boundary collision, bound A, bound B, then all we have to do then is say world.mainController.master object master list object ID dot file dot outer bounds. And the other one here, this needs to be new vector 6. Position X. This is the actual vector 6int bounds to check. Is this position plus collision bounds dot size. Set that there. And then here, this is what we're checking again. Bounds to check. So if that's true, then we return false. And that's it, I think. Like, why would it need to be anything else? Why would I need to set this? I don't understand what I'm doing here. Because then here, all we need to do here is just say, if this doesn't return false, and this doesn't return false, then we just return true here. And that's all we do. Right? Like, I don't really understand why it was so complicated. Okay. We managed to get rid of those errors there. Hopefully that works. So next time, I'm not sure. But I feel like we need to fix save and load system question mark. It shouldn't be that big of a deal, to be perfectly honest. All I need to really do is change room vertices to quads, which is just a vector 6. Which I actually might not have stored as a value. Yeah. Maybe we'll call it there. We're almost at 4 hours, but a lot of it was spent just staring. And I'm gonna go and try to get some writing done before I go and cook something. Tonight we'll play Sir Brant. We'll continue that. Now that I no longer have a bad headache, we can read again. But yeah. I'm a little bit all over the place in the code, so I'm not sure exactly what we managed to get done today, but I do think we managed to get some important stuff down here. But yeah, the pathfinding is a bit of a mess still. Because it's like, it's passing in, like instead of passing in like an object ID as the source, it's like passing in an object reference, and also it's also passing in like a rectangle, and then it's like using this or that to do this or that, and I don't know. I think I tried to make the Pathfinder be too modular in what, like, handle too much in one go. But I'm not sure exactly. Because here we have pathfinding data that we're passing in, right? And that's just setting a bunch of stuff here. And then we have like a pathfinding mode. Movement range. Movement path, path found. Movement range. I don't know, it looks okay. Find target. Yeah, I split it between targeting and movement. Targeting area. It's okay. Okay, let's go okay. A lot of stuff here, though. Anyhow, that'll be that. Until next time. Thanks for hanging. Have a good day. Bye-bye.